There are things your dog is trying to tell you right now that most owners don't recognize until it's too late. Not dramatic things. Not obvious things. Quiet things. Small shifts in behavior that your dog's body produces when it is preparing for the end of its life. And the heartbreaking reality is this. Most owners look back after losing their dog and say the same thing. The signs were there. I just didn't know what I was seeing. This video is going to change that. We're going through all 11 of them, what they look like, what's actually happening inside your dog's body when they appear, and what you can do in response. And please don't skip ahead to number 11. It is the one most people find impossible to believe when they first hear it, and it may be the most important sign of all. Welcome to Canine Flux. Subscribe now. What we cover here changes things. Before we go through the list, you need to understand one thing about how a dog's body approaches the end of life. Because without this, the signs won't make sense. A dog's body doesn't fail suddenly. In most cases, it transitions gradually, deliberately, in a sequence that follows a recognizable biological logic. The organs begin to prioritize. The nervous system begins to conserve. The body starts redirecting its remaining energy away from things that are no longer essential, and toward the core processes of simply continuing to exist for as long as it can. This is not suffering. Much of what you will see on this list is not pain. It is biology doing exactly what it is designed to do. But it is also communication. Your dog cannot tell you in words. What they can do is show you. And every single sign on this list is your dog's body showing you something real. Here is what to look for. Sign 1: withdrawal from the pack. Dogs are social animals at a neurological level. Connection is not a preference for them. It is a biological need wired into the same ancient brain structures that govern survival itself. They seek out their people. They position themselves near movement, near warmth, near the center of family activity. That is their baseline. So when a dog who has always followed you from room to room, who always wanted to be near the couch, near the bed, near wherever you were, when that dog starts choosing corners instead, starts lying in places they never used to, starts being in the room but somehow further away, that is not boredom. That is not mood. When a dog's body begins the process of shutting down, the nervous system undergoes a shift in how it processes social stimulation. Stimulation that once felt comfortable begins to feel like input the body no longer has the resources to manage. The withdrawal is not emotional rejection. It is physiological self-protection. The dog is managing their own sensory and energetic load. Veterinary practitioners who specialize in end-of-life and hospice care for companion animals have consistently observed this pattern of social withdrawal as one of the earliest behavioral indicators of meaningful physical decline. Do not force closeness. Do not interpret the withdrawal as a sign that your dog no longer loves you or wants you near. What they need is the option. Sit near them without touching. Let them come to you. Your calm, nearby presence is still meaningful to their nervous system. They simply may not be able to receive it in the same way they once did. Sign 2: loss of interest in food. This one feels alarming the moment it happens, and for good reason. Eating is a primary drive. It is one of the most fundamental expressions of a living body's will to continue. So when a dog who has always been food motivated, who used to materialize at the sound of a bag opening from 3 rooms away, suddenly turns away from their bowl, walks past food they would have inhaled yesterday, shows no response to treats that once caused visible excitement, most owners assume it means something is acutely wrong. An infection, a blockage, an upset stomach. And sometimes it does mean those things. But in the context of a dog whose body is nearing the end of its life, this is something different. The digestive system is one of the highest energy-consuming systems in the body. As a dog's overall reserves decline, the body begins conserving by reducing digestive function. Stomach acid production decreases. Gut motility slows. The hunger signal itself, which is regulated in part by the hypothalamus, diminishes because the body is redirecting neurological resources. The dog is not choosing to refuse food. The drive itself is fading. Reduced or absent appetite is recognized across veterinary medicine as one of the most universal indicators, across species, that the body is entering its final transition. Do not force feed. Do not panic and rotate through 20 different foods trying to find something they'll eat. Offer small amounts of something gentle and highly palatable, warmed broth, a small amount of something soft, and let them decide. Their body knows what it can manage. Your job right now is to offer, not to insist. Sign 3: extreme fatigue and sleeping more than usual. Every dog sleeps a lot. This is not news. Adult dogs sleep anywhere from 12 to 14 hours a day. Senior dogs typically sleep more. So owners often miss this sign entirely because they think, he's always been a sleeper. But there is a quality to this fatigue that is different. It is not the satisfied, relaxed sleep of a dog who has had a good walk. It is a heaviness, a difficulty getting up that goes beyond stiff joints. A dog who was asleep when you left and is in the same position when you return 3 hours later. A dog who closes their eyes mid-interaction, not from boredom but from a weight that seems to be pulling them down from the inside. As organ function declines, particularly kidney and liver function, metabolic waste products that are normally filtered and removed begin accumulating in the bloodstream. This produces a state of physiological exhaustion that is not responsive to rest the way normal tiredness is. The body is working harder than it appears to maintain basic function, and sleep is how it manages that load. Do not try to stimulate them awake. Do not insist on walks or activity out of fear that inactivity is making things worse. Ensure they are comfortable, that their sleeping surface is soft, that they are warm, that they can change position without pain. Rest is not giving up. Rest is what their body is asking for. Sign 4: changes in breathing. This is one of the signs that frightens owners most when they first notice it, and it should be taken seriously. But understanding what is actually happening reduces the panic and allows you to respond with clarity instead of fear. Normal dog breathing at rest is steady, relatively quiet, and effortless, typically between 15 and 30 breaths per minute, as referenced in standard veterinary guidelines. What you may begin to notice near the end of life looks different. Slower breaths with longer pauses between them. Or the opposite, rapid, shallow breaths that seem out of proportion to any physical activity. Sometimes an irregular rhythm. Sometimes an audible quality, a slight rattle or catch that wasn't there before. As circulation weakens and oxygen delivery to tissues becomes less efficient, the respiratory system responds by altering its pattern. The brain's respiratory center, located in the brainstem, adjusts the breathing rate and depth in response to blood oxygen and carbon dioxide levels. The changes in rhythm you're hearing are the brainstem making real-time adjustments with diminishing resources. If the breathing change is sudden and accompanied by visible distress, extended neck, blue-tinged gums, obvious panic, this is a veterinary emergency and you should not wait. But if what you are seeing is slow, quiet, irregular breathing in a dog who otherwise appears peaceful and not distressed, you are likely witnessing the natural respiratory changes of a body in its final transition. Sit with them. Speak softly. Your voice is still information their nervous system is receiving. Sign 5: loss of bladder and bowel control. This is the sign that causes the most distress and confusion in owners, because it looks like a training regression. A dog who has been perfectly house-trained for a decade suddenly has accidents in the house, sometimes without appearing to notice. Sometimes while lying down. Sometimes while looking directly at you with an expression that contains no awareness that anything has happened. And owners, not understanding what they're seeing, sometimes respond with correction, with confusion, with the assumption that something behavioral is occurring. It is not behavioral. It is not regression. It is not a choice. Bladder and bowel continence requires active neurological control. The brain must maintain continuous low-level signaling to the sphincter muscles to keep them closed. As neurological function declines and the brain's resources are pulled toward more critical systems, this signaling is reduced or lost. The muscles relax passively because the signal telling them to contract is no longer arriving consistently. This is a recognized feature of systemic neurological decline, not a behavioral problem. Clean up without reaction. Do not correct. Do not show distress. Do not let your dog see that this is anything other than ordinary. Place absorbent bedding in their resting area. Your emotional neutrality here is a gift to them. It tells their nervous system that everything is fine, that they are still safe, that nothing about their status in the family has changed. Sign 6: seeking you out in unusual ways. This is the sign that directly contradicts sign number 1, and that contradiction confuses people. A dog who has been withdrawn, who has been distant, who has been choosing corners and quiet places, will sometimes suddenly seek you out with an intensity that feels different from their normal affection. They will follow you from room to room. They will put their head in your lap and hold it there with a kind of deliberateness they don't usually have. They will make eye contact that feels extended, searching, significant, in a way that is hard to articulate but impossible to dismiss. This is not a good sign that they're feeling better. It is something else entirely. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to shifts in their own internal state. Many veterinarians and animal behaviorists who specialize in end-of-life care observe that dogs appear to have some awareness, not intellectual, but felt in the body, of significant internal change. The seeking behavior that sometimes emerges in the final days or hours appears to be driven by the same attachment circuitry that draws a dog to its primary caregiver under any condition of uncertainty or vulnerability. They are not asking you to fix anything. They are asking you to be present. Be present. Whatever you are doing, put it down. Sit on the floor with them. Let them lean against you. Let the eye contact hold. Do not fill the moment with words or movement. This may be one of the last times your dog seeks you out in this way. Let it be complete. Sign 7: muscle weakness and difficulty standing. You will notice it first in the back legs. A hesitation before standing that looks like reluctance but is actually effort. A shakiness when they finally get up that isn't there once they've been moving for a minute. A difficulty with stairs they once took without thinking. Eventually, an inability to hold the standing position for more than a short time before the legs begin to tremble. Most owners attribute this entirely to arthritis or joint pain, and in many dogs that is part of the picture. But in end-of-life decline, something additional is happening that goes beyond the joints. Muscle tissue requires a continuous supply of oxygen and glucose to maintain its baseline function. As circulation weakens and the body's metabolic efficiency decreases, the large muscle groups of the hindquarters and back begin to experience what clinicians call muscle wasting, the breakdown of muscle tissue as the body draws on stored protein to maintain organ function. The weakness you're seeing is not just pain. It is a systemic consequence of the body conserving its remaining resources. Reduce the demands on their body without reducing their dignity. Help them stand without pulling. Use a rolled towel under their belly as a sling for gentle support. Move their water and food to where they are so they don't have to walk to reach them. And when they fall, help them up quietly, without fuss, without the energy of alarm, just steady, calm help. Sign 8: disorientation and confusion. A dog who walks to a corner of the room and stands there. A dog who seems to look straight through you rather than at you. A dog who circles slowly, repeatedly, without apparent purpose. A dog who wanders into familiar rooms as if seeing them for the first time. This is among the most disorienting signs for owners to witness because it makes the dog feel suddenly unfamiliar, not like themselves. And there is a grief in that specific experience that is different from watching physical decline. The brain is an extraordinarily oxygen-dependent organ. As cardiovascular function declines and oxygen delivery to the brain decreases, higher-order brain functions, spatial orientation, recognition, behavioral regulation, are among the first to show disruption. What you are seeing is not confusion of the psychological kind. It is the brain operating on reduced fuel, a neurological consequence of what clinicians call decreased cerebral perfusion. Keep their environment simple and unchanged. Do not rearrange furniture. Do not move their bed or their food. Familiar smells and spatial layouts are navigational anchors for a disoriented dog's nervous system. Speak to them softly and often. Your voice is a sensory landmark. Even when they don't appear to fully register you, they are receiving you. Sign 9: changes in eyes and gums. The eyes and gums are two of the most direct windows into what is happening inside a dog's body, and yet they are two of the things owners look at least carefully. A glassiness, a dullness, a lack of the focused responsiveness that has always been there. The eyes may appear sunken slightly in their sockets. The whites may show more than usual. The dog may not track movement the way they once did. A paleness, a grayness, or a white coloration where there was once healthy pink. They may feel tacky or dry rather than moist and smooth. The color and moisture of the gums are direct indicators of circulation and hydration. Pink, moist gums signal adequate blood flow and fluid levels. Pale, tacky, or gray gums signal that circulation has become compromised, that the heart is no longer moving blood with adequate force to maintain peripheral perfusion. Veterinary triage protocols use gum color as one of the fastest clinical assessments of a patient's cardiovascular status, precisely because the correlation is that direct and reliable. If gums have gone pale, gray, or white, especially if accompanied by rapid or labored breathing, contact your veterinarian immediately. This is not a sign to wait on. But if what you are seeing is a gradual dullness in the eyes and a mild pallor in gums that has developed over days or weeks alongside other signs on this list, you are watching the natural progression of systemic decline. Sign 10, a distinctive odor. This is the sign no one talks about in polite company, and yet, it is one of the most consistently reported by people who have been with a dog in their final days. Not the smell of a dog who needs a bath. Not the normal dog smell that owners are so accustomed to they've stopped registering it. Something different. Something that experienced veterinary professionals and hospice caregivers can often identify before any other sign has fully declared itself. Some owners describe it as a sweetness that doesn't belong. Others describe it as earthier, deeper, more organic than normal. Others simply say the dog smells different and they cannot explain how they know what it means, only that they know. As the kidneys and liver decline in function, the chemistry of the body changes in ways that become detectable on the skin and breath. Kidney failure leads to a buildup of urea and related waste compounds in the blood, a condition called uremia, which can produce an ammonia-like odor on the breath and skin. Liver decline is associated with the accumulation of compounds including dimethyl sulfide, which contributes to a musty or sweet odor sometimes described clinically as fator hepaticus. Additionally, when the body begins burning stored fat for energy in the absence of normal metabolic function, it produces ketones, including acetone, which have a distinctively sweet, almost fruity smell. The odor you notice is the body's changed internal chemistry expressing itself externally. You do not need to do anything with this information except receive it. If this smell appears alongside other signs on this list, it is part of a picture, not a crisis in itself. Continue to groom them gently if they will allow it, not to remove the smell, but because the sensation of being cared for is still meaningful to them. Sign 11, the one nobody believes. Here it is. The sign that most owners either dismiss as coincidence or look back on afterward and cannot stop thinking about. Some dogs, in the hours or days before they die, will go to every member of the family. One by one, deliberately. They will find each person, approach them, spend time with them. Brief, quiet, but with that same quality of deliberateness we described in sign 6. A hello that feels like something more. A look that holds for a second longer than it needs to. And then sometimes, if they are able, they will move to a specific place in the home. A place they have always loved, or a place that, for reasons you may not fully understand, seems to call them now. And they will settle there quietly. This is something that veterinarians and owners have reported widely and consistently, though it has not yet been captured in controlled scientific study in a way that allows us to explain it with certainty. What can be said is this: a dog's bond to the people it loves is not a metaphor. It is a biological reality encoded into the architecture of their brain. The attachment system in a dog's nervous system, centered in limbic structures involved in social bonding, remains active until the end. The seeking behavior we see in these final hours is consistent with what that system does under any condition of vulnerability or uncertainty. It orients toward the people it is bonded to. Whether what you are witnessing is a dog doing something intentional or a dog's attachment system simply doing what it has always done, the effect on the people present is the same. It feels like a goodbye, and it may be. Be there. If you can, be home. If you cannot, do not carry guilt about it. Dogs do not experience your absence as abandonment. But if you are there, be truly there. Put the phone down. Sit on the floor. Let them come to you or stay across the room as they choose. The presence you offer in these hours costs you nothing and means everything. Let us put all 11 signs together, because none of them exists in isolation. Withdrawal from the pack. Loss of appetite. Deep, heavy fatigue. Changes in breathing. Loss of bladder and bowel control, seeking you out with unusual intensity, muscle weakness in the hindquarters, disorientation and confusion, changes in eyes and gums, a changed smell, and finally, that quiet, deliberate goodbye that goes around the family one by one. These signs do not always appear in this order. They do not always all appear. But when several of them appear together, when the picture begins to form, your dog's body is communicating something clearly. Not a crisis to be fixed, a transition to be witnessed. Knowing what you are seeing does not take away the grief. Nothing does. But it gives you something that blind uncertainty cannot, the chance to be present with full awareness. To give your dog what they are actually asking for in each sign, rather than responding to what you fear. A dog who is withdrawing needs calm, nearby presence. A dog who is seeking you out needs you to stop and be found. A dog who is confused needs a steady, unchanged environment and your voice as an anchor. A dog who is doing that quiet round of goodbyes needs you to receive them. That is not just good end-of-life care. That is you speaking the language your dog has spoken to you every single day of their life. The language of attention, of presence, of love expressed through behavior rather than words. They learned it from you. You can learn it back from them. Subscribe to Canine Flux. Leave a comment below. Tell us your dog's name, and if you've been through this, tell us which sign you saw first, because your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to read right now. Every owner who knows these signs is an owner who gets to be truly present when it matters most. And that matters more than we can say.